Hey everybody, this is Tracy here with another edition of A View from Tracy's Point, and this is our week in review with our brothers. How y'all doing? And this was not a good week for the brothers, okay, when it came to trending topics. So let's go ahead and jump into what was going on. So our first story, Stevie Wonder will undergo a kidney transplant, I think in September, and he announced this during a concert that he was doing in London. He says, I'm going to have surgery. I'm going to have a kidney transplant in September this year. And it's good. It's all good. I have a donor. So, thank God for that. So we're going to send prayers up to Stevie Wonder for a successful transplant and a speedy recovery. And so rumors that Stevie Wonder was having medical issues began to surface last month after a radio show host in Philadelphia told listeners that the singer is suffering from kidney failure and has started dialysis. So prayers going out to Stevie Wonder. He's certainly on dialysis, hoping that one of his children will give him a kidney. Personality Patty Jackson said in a video posted to YouTube on June 25th, Jackson did not identify her sources at the time. So then in a story published on July 3rd, the Detroit Free Press said it spoke to multiple people with ties to Wonder who confirmed that he was having serious medical problems. He's got some health challenges, but he doesn't want a big PR thing out of this, said musician Joan Belgrave, a longtime friend of the singer. So we know Stevie Wonder has hit after hit after hit for me. Okay. His song Ass. Oh my God. Like I have told my children, I need Ass to be played at my funeral as the casket is being taken out of the church. If y'all do a funeral, I love that song. Like if I ever have like some big special event honoring me, I need that song played. I need Stevie Wonder to play that song. And I remember I talked about Essence Fest in my other, when I was recapping trending topics that was going on with women in the news. I talked about Essence Fest. So I saw Stevie Wonder at Essence Fest. And so when Essence Fest first started, they would let these concerts go on to the wee hours of the morning, and then the Superdome finally came back and told them, we need y'all up out of here by a certain time, and if you're not up out of here, you're going to be fined. And I remember one year Patti LaBelle was performing, and they were telling Patti to get off that stage, and Patti said she was going to pay the money, and I think she said it was like $10,000 per, I can't think if it was $10,000 a minute or $10,000 every half hour that she went over. But I remember her saying $10,000, and it was in some form of increment that would, add up really high. And so this year that Stevie Wonder was there, he was the closing act. And when I tell y'all, Stevie did not leave that stage till like 2:30 in the morning. He sung every song he had ever put out. And that was like one of the most amazing experiences of my life, seeing Stevie Wonder in person in his, like really, 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 really good years. I mean, he still performs and he still performs well, but that night will forever be ingrained in my heart. And so, As is my song, y'all. I love that song. I love that song. So anyway, Stevie Wonder has been nominated for 74 Grammy Awards and taken home 25. And the singer is next scheduled to perform in Dublin, Ireland on July 9th, which was yesterday, my sister's birthday. And so good luck to Stevie. Hope everything works out for you. So then our next trending topic was Colin Kaepernick, and so Nike has scheduled to put out these new tennis shoes in honor of the 4th of July, and on the back of the shoe, and can we just say they were some ugly shoes to begin with, which is really why Nike probably pulled them shoes. But anyway, it had the original Bessie Ross flag on the back of the shoes. And so Colin told them that it was disrespectful because that era represented, the time of slavery, and which wasn't a good time for everybody in the country, and that it was symbolic, of a bad time in America. So Nike pulled the shoes, and of course everybody was up in arms and angry about that. Well, not everybody, but people that support that kind of stuff. They were angry and upset. And so one thing that came out of it was that Nike was supposed to be building a factory or headquarters or something in Arizona. So their governor got upset and pulled whatever financial incentives that Nike was going to get for bringing their business to Arizona. And so no sooner than he tweeted out, that he was pulling his contract, did Mexico step up and say, well, hell, come on over here and talk. We'll have you over here. We want that money. And I was surprised by the number of black people that were saying that they weren't offended by the Betsy Ross flag, that they thought that Colin Kaepernick was overstepping, that he was going too far. It wasn't that big of a deal. So guys, what do you think? I remember being in second grade and getting in trouble because I wouldn't stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, and I don't stand for the national anthem, and that has just always been my stance all of my life. Then we move over to Chris Brown. So you guys know Chris Brown released his latest album, CD, whatever you want to call it, called Indigo. And so there was a big controversy about a line in one of his songs. And so, Chris Brown don't care what nobody think. And so he went all in on his fans for being upset about the lyric in this song. And so Chris Brown says he ain't finna jump through hoops to satisfy anyone's ego or movement. So despite potentially being on his way to another #1 album with Indigo, Chris Brown has been dealing with quite a bit of backlash after the release of his anticipated album. The backlash was sparked by a lyric on the new Lil Wayne and Joyner Lucas featured song, Need a Stack, in which Chris raps about only liking black girls with nice hair. Digging it, then I'm licking it on that P word. Okay, put it right there. Only wanna F the black bitches with the nice hair. So those were the lyrics that people were upset about. And I thought it was funny as they were having this debate, talking about colorism and, black men not wanting dark-skinned women, that there were a lot of women that was coming out saying, he didn't say good hair, he said nice hair, just comb your damn hair. And you ain't got no problem. And then people were bringing up this video for a song that he did, I believe it was with Missy Elliott, where they were talking about something about melanin. But anyway, in this video, it's like all these beautiful black women of all hues and shades, and they were saying, if he hated black women, he wouldn't have did this video, and I think he directed the video. And so personally for me, I do notice a lot of colorism. And I follow a YouTuber by the name of Tested with Ty, and she actually does a series on colorism. And I need to go over to her channel because I know she talked about Chris Brown probably really, really bad, because that's the kind of stuff that just like really gets under her skin. And so for me with colorism, the things that stand out for me with colorism is with TV shows. And so I talk about a lot with the, when I used to recap, well, I still recap Queen Sugar, but in my older Queen Sugar recaps, I talk about how, the main characters like Charlie, she's biracial. The sister Nova is the dark-skinned radical sister. And then how Ralph Angel, he has the baby from Darla, who's the former crack addict. And Darla is very light-skinned. Her parents were played by 2 black actors, but somewhere along the way there's some whiteness, I guess, in her situation. But how Ralph Angel, seems to have pride and respect in the lighter skinned women or the non-black women that he dates, but he doesn't have that same pride in the black women. And I know in last season we were really, like, the fans during the live tweets were really, going in on the fact that they had Ralph Angel paired with, he was going to date this Vietnamese woman. And then he was sneaking the dark skinned sisters into the house, having sex with them and making them get out before his son woke up in the morning. And so it looks like in this season they've actually paired Ralph Angel, his new interest, is a dark skinned sister, you know, with that short natural hair. She's a district attorney. Well, not a, yeah, I think she's a district attorney and or a defense attorney. But anyway, so it was like the writers have been listening to us, but I believe in the end he's going to end up with Darla anyway, which is fine with me. But those are the kind of things, and I do it on Insecure. You can see colorism in Insecure. Basically colorism in almost every black television show, whether it has men writers or female writers. There's some forms of those stereotypes that light-skinned women are more attractive than dark-skinned women, and that black men want these, you know. So it goes on in different aspects and different segments. But I don't know why people are upset with Chris Brown, because we see the type of women that Chris Brown is attracted to. And so obviously dark-skinned sisters are not his type. And so respect the fact that it's not his type and move on. And if you don't like the lyrics that he puts in his songs, which to me I think is mild compared to lyrics in some other rap songs that I have heard, then don't support him financially. Don't buy the music. So the article that I was reading goes on to say that you know, the lyrics in the song, which prompted an understandable outrage from fans who are accusing Brown of colorism. His mother and ex and baby mama Nia Guzman took to Instagram to defend Brown, but he couldn't leave it at that, and took to making public statements ridiculing the whole matter and denying any allegations, not just once but twice. And now he's taken to sending yet another message to fans to let them know he's not with the accusations. And then there also was a point where what's the girl from Love and Hip Hop Atlanta, Tokyo? Now, Tokyo Tony is Black China's mom, but this girl has Tokyo in her name. She's a heavy set, dark skinned rapper. I think sometimes she has like different color hair when she's on the show. If you watch Love and Hip Hop, you know who she is. I had never heard of her before until I tuned in to Love and Hip Hop one day and she was on there, and I was commenting about how the whole cast of Love and Hip Hop has just really changed from what it was in the beginning. So the first of Brown's responses came in the form of a comment under an Instagram post discussing the matter, in which Brown laughs off the situation before saying the only people upset are the quote uglies. He went on to make another comment under at Black Girls Are. So it's at Black Girls ARELT. I don't know what that is. Black girls. Oh, Black Girls Are Lit, maybe. I don't know. Anyway, post in which he said he would be, quote, giving away free lace fronts for all you weird females with the skid row edges and low self-esteem. Now, I don't know why people be trying to get into a back and forth with Chris Brown, because we know Chris has no filter. So Chris Brown took to Instagram once more and said that it was going to be his last message on the topic. And so this is what he said. So he says, don't let people twist your meanings when it's meant to show love. And a N-word ain't finna jump through hoops to satisfy anyone's ego or movement. I've been an N-word all my life, and stop playing like I'm out here Uncle Tomming and discrediting beauty. So while Chris Brown out here beefing with his fans about the lyrics to his songs, the mother of his daughter said he ain't paying his child support and that she's going to take him to court to collect what she believes is owed to her. So even though Nia Guzman was trying to stand up for him on the whole nice hair situation, she says that Chris Brown has repeatedly engaged in conduct that dramatically increased the cost of litigation, and he has ignored deposition notices offered to participate in mediation in a court hearing, then failed to even respond to potential mediation dates when proposed, and ignored settlement offers altogether. And then Guzman claims that Chris Brown's actions have created a great hardship for her because she does not work and relies on the support from him, calling him an admitted extraordinary high earner, and she claims he makes $7.5 million a year. And so in total, Guzman is seeking $258,000 in bank child support, which includes retroactive support from the beginning of the case, plus sanctions and the value of housing that Brown agreed to supply. So reportedly, Brown was paying $2,500 a month in support and another $4,000 a month for a nanny who happens to be Nia's mother. So she believed she should receive $21,000 per month and that she was owed $250,000 in retroactive child support. So Brown filed documents to fight Guzman's attempt to get more money, claiming this is already the third time she has asked for an increase in support. He claims that based on Guzman's own financial documents between her income, Brown's support, and the spousal support she receives from a prior marriage, Guzman ends up with a surplus each month of $6,628 a month. And then I think I read that Chris Brown has another baby on the way with some girl that he's not dating, he was dating and isn't dating anymore. Child, y'all need to cover it up. Okay, so this girl, I think that these women be looking for a whole lot, just using these babies, to make money so they don't have to work. And so if money is seriously an issue, maybe you need to get a job. So if your mama collecting a paycheck every month for watching the baby, you obviously have enough time on your hands where you can go and get a job if you're not getting enough money. And stop trying to take men to court and milk them, because what's going to happen when your child turns 18 and they no longer have to pay you child support? Then you're going to be out here like Andrea Kelly, just off the chain trying to get money. So then there was a story about the guy Blueface. I think he's a rapper. Like, I don't know who these people be, but anyway, like Chris Brown, he got into it with his fans. So his situation had to do with an altercation at his home between his mother and his sister. And I'm going to be honest with you guys, I just really wasn't trying to dig that deep into it. But what I was able to find out is evidently this guy has a child from a woman that he's in a relationship with. And then there's a second woman that he's invited into his home that lives with him and his girlfriend. And she's also a girlfriend. So I guess this is it's not a new thing, but obviously it's a trending thing where these celebrities are just saying, hey, I like a lot of women, okay, and I'm going to have as many women as I want to. But we know that it has long been the case where men have more than one woman, and some men, have all their women living in the house with them. And if the women are okay with it, I'm okay with it. But evidently the mother and the sister came over. There was some kind of dispute. There was a fight that broke out. The sister said that he did something to the mom. She ended up grabbing a knife to defend the mom. And so it was like a whole lot of arguing back and forth, pushing people downstairs, yelling and cussing, kicking people out the house, throwing stuff out of the house. All of this in front of the child that was in the house. And so a lot of people were saying that he was wrong. He never should have treated his mother and his sister that way over another, a woman that he's not married to or who's not his blood. And so my thought on the whole situation is this. Yes, he should not have been disrespectful to his mom. But then on the flip side, the mom was the adult. And when he said, leave my house, the mom should have got up and left. Now, overall, despite the relationships and the connections, if you are at somebody's house and that person says, get out of my house, get out their house. Like, you ain't got to stay, you ain't got to fight, you ain't got to argue. And like the sister was cussing him out, she was, just yelling and screaming and just being totally out of control, totally disrespectful. And despite what she was feeling, she continued to escalate the situation by refusing to leave. And so it was just a crazy situation. And then they said that the whole argument and the whole fight started because when the mother and the sister walked into the house, that the new girlfriend didn't speak to them. And so I got to thinking about that, and I said, I was always taught, and I've always taught my children, the person that enters the room is the one that is supposed to speak. And how the person who enters the room affects the energy in the room, that sets the tone of what's going to happen in the room once they're there. So if the mother and the daughter came in and they don't like the new girlfriend, and so they didn't speak to the new girlfriend, then only natural that the new girlfriend wasn't going to speak to them. And then we don't know what the past history and relationship has been between the new girlfriend, the mom, and the sister, as to why she didn't just say, okay, well, I'm going to speak to them out of respect that they are his family. So we don't know the back history between all of that. But I think that there was a lot of blame to go around. The situation could have been handled a whole lot differently. But at the end of the day, the mother and the sister needed to respect that this was this man's home. This was the home of the two girlfriends and of his child. And that they had the opportunity to be the bigger person or be the bigger people, and to respect his space, respect his home, and to come into the room, say hello, and at least try to get along. And then if they felt some kind of way about the woman, they should have just left, and not stay there and try and impose themselves. And so there was a lot going on where he was saying that there was a point where he was sleeping in his car and the family didn't care. And then the sister came back and was saying, all the things that the mother did to support him, as he was growing up, and all the way into him trying to become this recording artist. And so to me, that's not really an argument, because as a mother, it is our responsibility to take care of our children, to expose our children to, different opportunities, whether it's little league baseball, tennis, art, whatever it is. It's our responsibility and our job to help our children define who they are going to become. And so one of the things that came, one comment that and then they were yelling, saying that he had an STD. And then I'm always suspect of people who are involved in an altercation and they're filming. So you're cutting the fool, cussing, pulling knives, trying to fight. But the mom is standing there, instead of intervening, grabbing the daughter and telling her, let's go. She is actually recording the entire event, and she's yelling, and she's, telling him, like, oh, he said at some point, oh, y'all want to be my girlfriends too. And then they were like, oh, we don't want to be your girlfriend. We don't want to get STDs. And so it was just a really bad situation, a really ugly situation that didn't have to happen and didn't have to go down the way that it did. And so just unfortunate circumstances. But you guys can leave your comments and let me know what you thought about that. So then we go over to Kawhi Leonard, and there was a lot of speculation, a lot in the news going on about where Kawhi would end up playing next season, because he is one of many free agents. And so he had us on suspense, like the news reporters, they were following him. People were following with helicopters. They were, the paparazzi was chasing down every black SUV that they could come across, trying to find out where he was at, who he was meeting with. He had a meeting in Toronto. Everybody thought that, after that meeting, he was going to make an announcement. Then he said he wouldn't make an announcement until Friday. Friday came and went, and there was no announcement. And then I think maybe later Friday night or early Saturday morning, he finally announced that he had decided to sign with the Clippers. And I don't know if anybody saw that coming. I know a lot of people thought that he was going to stay with Toronto. And then people were kind of like wavering on the whole Lakers thing, because evidently he doesn't have a good relationship with LeBron James. And so a lot of people were saying that he wasn't going to sign with the Lakers because he wouldn't want to play with LeBron James. And so the Lakers had made a lot of moves, traded a whole bunch of players. They were positioning themselves to get him on their team. But in the end, he decided to go with the Clippers. And then not only did the Clippers get Kawhi Leonard, they also got Paul George, which was like another story that led to like a domino effect with other players leaving. And so it was just really, really crazy. And it was initially reported that Leonard was going to get $142 million, but then we learned today that he did not get that much money, that actually his deal is only for 3 years and only 2 of those years are actually guaranteed, and after the second year he is free to leave the Clippers if he's not happy. So the 3-year deal was actually only for $103 million. So I don't know, I guess they didn't offer him as much as they did, or he took less because he didn't want to be forced into that 3rd year. And I think when you divide the money up over the 3-year period, it probably did come out to close to the $142 million that was being originally reported. So speaking of free agency, I was shocked to find out that free agency this year netted NBA players over $3 billion in these contracts. And I was just like blown away that basketball, I think I may have mentioned before that I used to be a huge Orlando Magic fan, had season tickets, and when Shaq was traded, I kind of like gave up basketball, and I literally used to drive. I used to work in Tampa, and I would drive from Tampa to Orlando to see the games, then had to travel from Orlando back to St. Petersburg, where I actually live. And so that's how big of a fan I was, because that's not an easy trek to take. But anyway, I kind of like stopped watching basketball, as seriously as I did. And so I was just really shocked, by the amount of money that is being transferred, and not shocked so much that these guys don't deserve it, but when you put it in comparison to the low wages that school teachers earn, that police officers earn, that people who have vital roles in society make pennies compared to what these professional athletes make, and what could be done with $3 billion, like that is a whole bunch of money. And it's so like when I was talking about the record industry in my last video, and it's just like a lot of money, and how Sony has paid, I think when it's all said and done, Sony would have paid over $2 billion to have total control of Michael Jackson's masters. And I think that actually the deal may already be closed. They may have closed earlier this year, where they have officially bought out everybody else that had interest in Michael Jackson's music, and now they control the masters all to themselves. But they paid $2.2 billion to get this done, which is just crazy to me. But anyway, let's go ahead and look at how some of that $3 billion has been spent. This is from CBS Sports, and it says, with over 200 free agents this summer, keeping track of who's signing where can be a lot to handle, so we're here to help you out with this convenient list. Happy free agency season. So top of 2019 NBA free agents. And so Kawhi Leonard, he was at the top of the list, and they had him down for a 4-year deal worth $142 million. But we now know with the news that broke today that it was a 3-year deal worth only $103 million, with the option to opt out and leave the team after his 2nd season. Oh, and also this list doesn't have the name of the teams. It just has their logo, and the logo is very small. Okay, and I done blew up the page, and I still can't tell who some of these logos are. So if I get a logo wrong, get a team wrong, just let me know in the comments. Don't cuss me out and bash me. So number 2 on the list was Kevin Durant. And so Kevin Durant is leaving the Warriors and going to, I think it's the Brooklyn Nets. They changed their names. It's the Brooklyn Nets now, I believe. And so he's reportedly agreed to a 4-year deal worth $164 million. And then Kyrie Irving is number 3 on the list, and he is leaving the Boston Celtics and going to the Brooklyn Nets. And he reportedly agreed to a 4-year deal worth $141 million. And then number 4 on the list is Kemba Walker. He's a guard, and he is leaving the Hornets, and he's going to the Celtics, and he reportedly agreed to a 4-year deal for $141 million. And then Klay Thompson, who plays with the Warriors, has agreed to stay with the Warriors, and he's agreed to a 5-year deal worth $190 million. And then Kristaps Porzingis, sorry if I butchered your name, he's decided to stay with the Minnesota Timberwolves, and he reportedly agreed to a 5-year deal worth $158 million. Jimmy Butler, who was with the 76ers, has agreed to go to the Miami Heat. And please let me know, isn't this the guy that said that he would never play for the Miami Heat, or he didn't like the Miami Heat? Well, I guess them dollar bills get to talking, and that quickly changed his mind. But he reportedly agreed to a 4-year deal worth $142 million. Number 8 is Tobias Harris, and he has agreed to stay with the 76ers for a 5-year deal worth $180 million. And then Chris Middleton is with the Milwaukee Bucks, and he agreed to stay with the Milwaukee Bucks. And he reportedly agreed to a 5-year deal worth $178 million. And then number 10 on the list is Nikolai Vucevic. Hope I didn't mess up his name. And he plays for the Magic, and he agreed to stay with the Magic, and he reportedly agreed to a 4-year deal worth $100 million. Worth $100 million. And so these were the top 10 on the list, but I think the list has like close to 90 players on it. And so these were the highest paid deals. And then when you got down to the people that were at like 88, 89, they actually signed like 1-year extensions. Some of them renewed their contracts for 2 years. Some of them, were traded to teams with like a 1-year agreement at the league minimum amount. But these were the heavy hitters that I just named off. And then keep in mind that these may not be straight money deals. They could have incentives. They could have bonuses. They could have other things attached to it. Like Kawhi Leonard, they may be able to get out of their contract before the allotted time period is over, in which they may take a cut in pay. So it doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to get this amount of money. It's just when you consider all the terms of the agreement, this is what it comes out to. And so next on our list is another athlete. I had a lot of athletes in the news today. So this guy, name is Adu Bell Herrera, and he is a Major League Baseball player who was suspended for the remainder of the Major League Baseball season for a domestic violence incident. And, keep in mind, Major League Baseball is like 163 or 67 games. And we're only halfway through, and this happened back in May. So he's going to miss half the season, which comes out to about 85 games for him. He makes $5.3 million a year. So you're talking about he's going to lose over $2 million in income. And so he appeared in court with his girlfriend, and her name is Melanie Martinez Agulu. And so they went to, this incident happened at Atlantic City at some casino. And so she chose not to press charges against him. So the charges were dropped, but the damage has already been done. The man has been suspended, and now he has no money coming in. And so I don't know why he's still with her, because anytime somebody is costing you money, that is never a good deal. And then the way they describe, like, domestic violence is never a good thing, but they were saying that he was arrested after, police were called, and I guess they saw like a mark on her face. But whatever her injury was, it did not require medical treatment. And it probably was just because she is, of the fair skin complexion, that, it probably was like a bruise, or maybe he slapped her or something like that. So he has to now ask himself, was it worth the $2.6 million that he is going to lose? So this next story is a sad story. It's about a former Clemson football player who drowned at a 4th of July family gathering in Georgia. So from the USAtoday.com, Tyshawn Dye, a former running back for the Clemson football team, drowned Friday during a picnic with his family at a state park in Georgia. And it says that two of his brothers, I guess, was in the water with him, and they were unable to help him. So I don't know if they tried to get him out of the water or if they were unable to get to the water. And so, you know, when people are drowning, it's really hard to rescue them, especially if you know, aren't a good swimmer or don't know, you know, the proper techniques. Because I can remember when we were little kids, I have a older sister that didn't grow up with us, but she would come to visit. And so we were at the home of one of my mom's friends, and the lady had a lake in the backyard. And so my sister, my older sister that grew up with me, she was drowning. And so my sister, who was visiting, tried to swim her. And I mean, we were little kids, so they had to have been no more than 10, 11 years old, because I think I was like 4 or 5 years old. And so my oldest sister, she actually had polio as a child. And so she has a, so the best way I can describe it is like the one leg that was affected by the polio stopped growing at the age she was when she, you know, contracted polio. And then the other leg, it continued, you know, in this natural state. And so she wears a boot that's about 4 inches. So there's like a 4-inch difference in her legs. And so that alone, you know, with her out there trying to, you know, be in the water and then trying to save my other sister. And so my sister Brenda was fighting my sister Nancy, who was trying to save her. And so they were both about to drown. And then the lady whose house it was, you know, we were screaming and carrying on. And so she ran out into the water and saved both of them. But that was like a scary experience. And then I used to help a small business, and we had a computer guy named Richard who used to come in and work on the computers. And so Richard, a few years ago, was Labor Day weekend, and he was with his family at Daytona Beach, and one of his sons got caught in a rip current, and he went out into the water to try and save his son. And so he told his son, you know, get on my back and hold on. Whatever happens, don't let go of my back. So he basically used himself as a flotation device to save his son. And so people went, you know, ran out into the water to try and help them. But when they pulled them, you know, got them back to shore, Richard had drowned, but his son was like still holding on. So he gave his life for his son. So that whole, you know, swimming, I don't know if this guy could swim or not, or if something happened in the water that, you know, caused him to drown or go under, but just a very sad situation. And he was 25 years old. And then there was a story about a former NFL quarterback who had a short career. I believe it was a very short career. I think he played with the New York Giants for 1 year. I wasn't familiar with him. His name is Jared Lorenzen, and he was 38 years old, and he died from he had like kidney failure and some other ailments, and so he died from those complications. Former New England Patriots player Teddy Bruschi actually had a second stroke. He's retired, but he had a stroke. And so he was basically sharing, he's going to be okay, but he was sharing that he was able to identify the second stroke based on what happened with the first stroke. So, you know, they've been doing a lot of stroke awareness, and so that's been a mission of his. And, you know, he did survive this stroke, and so he's really, you know, committed to pushing awareness on strokes and how to identify when you're having one. And then this was another sad story. Another football player, this guy, Miami Dolphins defensive tackle Kendrick Norton, was in a really bad car accident, and he had to have his arm amputated, and so he remains hospitalized. And so according to the Highway Patrol, they said a Ford F-250 driven by the 22-year-old Norton crashed into a concrete barrier on State Road 836 near Miami, and that the truck overturned and came to rest on its roof. And so this is probably going to be a career-ending injury for him. But it made me think about there's a young guy, actually him and his brother, they're from St. Petersburg, and they both play for the Seattle Seahawks, and he only has a partial arm, but he has had a successful first season in the NFL, and so hopefully he can reach out to this young man and encourage him and talk to him and let him know that, you know, there is life after this type of disability. And, you know, with all these robotics that they're creating now, there's no reason why he can't get like a robotic arm. And who knows, he may still have a future in the NFL. But for right now, you know, praying for a speedy recovery for him, and that for Kendrick Norton, and that everything works out for the good, and that he doesn't you know, let this deter him in life in general, because I'm sure, you know, you're a young person, you're new in the NFL, you know, have reached that goal that so many will never even have the opportunity to reach, and then for something like this to happen. And then the Highway Patrol also said that there was a second vehicle involved in the crash, and that the driver of a 2015 Maserati did not sustain any injuries. And then I never did, I'm not sure if there was a follow-up story to say whether alcohol or anything was involved. But from the article that I initially read, it just seemed like it was a really bad car accident. And then we go over to Jay-Z. So Jay-Z has filed a lawsuit against Iconics Brand Group Incorporated, claiming that the company cheated Roc Nation and other companies owned by Jay-Z as part of a colossal accounting scandal, the Associated Press is reporting. And so the lawsuit filed in Manhattan court on Thursday claims that Iconics Brand Group lied about its finances when it made deals with Roc Nation back in 2013. And the suit also accuses the company of fabricating financial records to inflate their earnings. And so according to the suit, the allegations started out of a massive year-long fraud perpetrated by Iconics and its affiliates to amass portfolio of trademarks under false pretenses, in the process defrauding its licensees and partners, and setting off a colossal accounting scandal, the depths of which are still being uncovered. And it also adds that the scam sent Iconics' share price from a peak of more than $400 per share in 2014 to less than $1 today. And so this, wow. So you guys, if you saw my last video where I talk about the music industry and, you know, people owning their masters and how they obtain their masters, this is another example why you have got to have the right people in place who can oversee all of this. And so, you know, Jay-Z is one of the people that I mentioned in that video about how, you know, he obtained his masters. And so even though he was smart enough to outsmart the music industry to get his masters back, he was still susceptible to this kind of deceit and theft from, you know, somebody that he did business with. And so it's just a dog eat dog world. And so you got to have people watching the people that you've hired, and then you also got to have people watching the people who watching the people who watching the people of the people that you are in business with, because people are just so dang on greedy. The article went on to say that last May, Jay-Z was subpoenaed and eventually questioned about the fraud allegations by the Securities and Exchange Commission. During his testimony, his lawyer said they didn't think he had any relevant information to share with the SEC investigators. The suit says that Jay-Z's business entities have incurred substantial legal expenses in connection with, among other things, the federal government's investigation into Iconic's massive fraud, and the plaintiffs are seeking payment of legal fees and unspecified damages. So even though they weren't a part of the scheme, they still got to put out money to protect their interests and to protect their images, so that what happened to this company doesn't spill over into their company. So we're rooting for you, Jay-Z. You know that I doubt you're going to get your money, since the shares have tumbled and the company is basically worthless at this point. But at least you haven't been, you know, indicted or connected to any of their wrongdoings. So that's it for me, guys. I know it was a lot, but every day I get ready to do these videos, more stuff kept coming out, more stuff kept coming out. And so in next week's video, there was some stuff that I did leave out that's happened like in the last day or so, and I'll put that on next week's recap. So that's it for me. So go ahead and leave your comments below, rate the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. And until the next time, I shall talk to you guys later. Bye-bye.